Your usefulness to our cause is the only logical course of action. You are a burden to the Alpha Quadrant. You have lived up your usefulness.
Peace, 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 everybody. It's your man, ImRealDvs, coming to you one more time. So I did do the live earlier, but was knocked off. I think it was just a whole bunch of people on, and it's probably a whole bunch of people asleep right now, but I wanted to get this done, which is why I chose to begin it at 11:59, so it would not be the technically the next day, but for most of you, particularly those of you who are essential workers, I know that you have to continue to go to work, so I know that it's late, so I hope that you are able to catch it either on YouTube or, you know, later on live. What's up? Hey, Vicky, how are you, dear heart? Please kiss the girls for me. So I wanted to continue with the conversation that I began talking about earlier. And it began with a video, mostly, that somebody sent me the inbox of a video, and there's a woman who talked about, it was a guy and there were women in the room. There was a guy who was speaking, and he addressed, he made a statement, and he said that the women didn't know their value. That was what set it off. So if you were watching me earlier, and that was the part that I didn't mention, I went back and rewatched the video, and I actually watched some other videos. So, and one of them I posted is not a direct rebuttal to that video, but it's just an interesting response I found to that topic. So, Black men and Black women. Very interesting, I think. What's up, Vanessa? What's up, John Bailey? Peace to everybody. We are continuing this topic. So the woman went on, when the guy said that she didn't know her worth, that's when she jumped up. Not physically at that point, because she did jump up later. But that's when she was like, ho, wait a minute. I know my worth. I'm 34 years old. I got 2 kids. And she goes on to tell, a bit of her story, not her whole story. She just mentions the part where she met a guy, and the guy was in the penitentiary, and she held him down for, I think it was 8 years or whatever. She held down this dude. She wrote it out with him. And 2 years, I think, afterward or something like that, he was killed. And she made some very, very powerful, passionate, from her own experience statements. And she said that, men, Black men in particular, choose the penitentiary over women, and that they don't want to be strong. They want the Black women to be strong. And I thought that was very interesting. And like I said in the video earlier, if you got a chance to see it, there was when I'm out and about, if I have a thought about, something I want to talk about on the show, I usually jot it down in my phone. Like, I'll, put a text in a notepad in my phone. And I came across this note the other day that said, Black men don't have the same cushion. I usually write some context because if I write a random statement like that, hey, Vanessa, hey, Angie, here, stay. I need you here, Angie, please stay here. Usually when I write a statement like that, I usually put some context around it, because a random statement like that, I was like, what the fuck were you thinking? But I didn't in this case for some reason. And I probably think it was because I didn't want context. I wanted to see what my mind would come up with in the moment. But if you did not get a chance to see the other video with the Black man who was talking to a woman, I'm guessing it's his mate or whomever, and his response was just as interesting as that woman in the first video. He told the woman, he said, Black women are always complaining about Black men. One of the points, where's the note? He said, y'all are always calling Black men dogs. And he said, but dogs, if you treat them right, are the most loyal animal that you will ever find. He also said, he made this point, and it's not something that I would have to think about. He said, think about this. When you have, let's say it's a potentially or a domestic violence situation, or just a real intense situation, a breakup or whatever, you get a woman who, no, we'll start with the man first. You get a man who does something to a woman. The woman is more likely to call the cops if he breaks the windows or, you know, and I get the fact that it's a physical intimidation more so. Like, we have the potential to hurt you guys, period, whatever the situation is. But just the fact that he said this, he said, but if the situation is reversed, a woman is much more likely to call the cops on a black man. And there was a time when that was a lot more true. Facebook Live and Instagram Live and everything has made that a whole different reality, because now we see men who are much more keen on the fact that, look, I'm not going to put my hands, I'm just going to call the police. But I think it's a thought that comes to women first, more so than it is for men. My man Curtis. So I just thought it was a very interesting dynamic, and it occurred to me, again, with that statement that, you know, black men don't have the same cushion. I talked earlier in the video that I started earlier about the place that I worked for 15 years. And I worked for the county that I worked in, and I worked with clients who were on welfare. I didn't work in welfare. I worked with clients who were on welfare. And I used to call my job Daddy. That was my nickname for the job, because you see lines and lines of mostly women, not all women, but mostly women most of the time, come in with their children oftentimes. And you only saw the men usually at the beginning of the month. What's up, Jerry? Hey, Kate. You saw the men mostly at the beginning of the month and mostly at the end of the month. The end of the month to stop the sanction, and the beginning of the month to get the sanction lifted. So I think that was part of where I got that statement, like, men don't have the same cushion. Yes, a man can come in and he could get his own case. If a woman leaves a man with the kids for whatever reason, because just like men, women go to jail. It could be a situation where the woman went to jail, left the man with the kids, the man can come in, he could get welfare for the kids. However, it is just not viewed the same societally. If a man goes to get welfare to raise his kids, as opposed to if a woman gets welfare. If a woman goes to get welfare, most people, many people, I'm not saying everybody, again, these are not blanket statements, but most people are inclined to be like, yeah, well, if it's a woman, oh, you know, you do what you got to do to get on your feet. If it's a man, they'd be like, if you don't get your ass up and go to work somewhere, it's a double-edged sword. So when it comes to black women, in the job where I worked, it was mostly black women coming in, mostly black families, period, that were, well, let me not say black, families that of color, ethnic families that were non-white, who were being serviced. And it was weird to me in many ways. Well, it wasn't weird. It was just interesting. Let me not say weird. It was interesting watching all of these dynamics play out. You have all of these black women who come in, and it was one time I witnessed, oh goodness, I can't believe I'm telling this story. It was one time I witnessed there was this woman who was in the waiting room, and apparently the father of her child also had another child with another woman who happened to be in the waiting room at the same time. So she decided to get on her cell phone and tell whomever, I don't know who's on the other end of the phone, that, oh, this B is here, and, you know, she, I don't remember exactly what happened, but, you know, it turned out to be a thing. This woman, now, I don't know if there was a precursor to where maybe the other baby mother disrespected her or not, but I was just curious, why are you so mad at her as opposed to him? But we're not going to get into that conversation. We're going to get back into the cushion, because, again, you got one man there with obviously who has kids by both of these women. Both of these women are in the office for benefits for these kids, and the man ain't there. He's wherever he is. He obviously wasn't in jail, because his kids is right there, unless he got locked up recently. I don't understand. You tell the women to get their ass up and go or something too. Yeah, you would. And obviously that's what they do. But what I'm saying is, insofar as society, we give women that pass. We, particularly if it's black women, don't let it be black women insofar as, from a political standpoint or a socioeconomical and political standpoint, you have a lot of people, because the framework is set up this way. you get a whole bunch of money into the community when you have more indigent people. So the more indigent people you have and you can maintain your community, the more federal dollars and state dollars and stuff come down the pipeline. So if you can maintain an indigent population, you can get more money into the community. Now, if there aren't a whole bunch of people who are still in that population, but you still have that money, technically you're supposed to give it back, but we all know how politics works. So that being said, we're going to get off of politics and go back to this whole thing with the black men and black women, because I'm really curious as to what y'all dynamic is and why y'all have such a contentious relationship. I took myself out of that. And the reason I took myself out of that is because I don't have romantic relationships with black women. But even still, I have to put myself back into the category because a lot of my friends are black women. A lot of my family are black women. A lot of people I come in contact with in business and just out being social are black women. So the relationships are you only get but so many passes. Yeah, that's true. The relationships are different. And what the woman said in the first video, because there are two videos on my page, you'll notice there's a video with a guy who's first talking, and then there's the Muslima who's talking, and most of my comments are talking about what the Muslima was saying when she was talking about the men. And she said, and I don't know, I really have to find out if anybody has seen this video and they know exactly what the context of this is. I'm really, really curious, because I would really like to know, why are you fishing in a pool of convicts? Or potential convicts. Now, this was a conversation that I actually had with some friends of mine a couple of weeks ago, and I get this fact. Now, if any of you have ever seen Silence of the Lambs, you'll get this reference. We covet what we see every day. But that does not mean that we have to become a product of our environment. What I'm saying is we get an inclination, an affinity towards those things that are in our community. So you wonder, might see a woman who is trying to elevate herself, education, school, she's not for the partying and yada, 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 riffraff. But you see her attracted to dudes who have no interest in any of the things that she wants to do or something like that. Like you see, like they're diametrically opposed. So you're like, how does that even happen? Because of what we see every day. You get a woman who is brought up in a community where these are the types of men who are available. Yeah, hurry up back, Kate. Where these are types of people who are available. And this is one of the outcomes that is possible. Because many of us date according to our own self-esteem. And that was what the guy I think that was how the woman interpreted his comment. Thanks, Angie. That was how the woman interpreted his comment, I believe. Anyway, because of the way that she responded, she had to pull out her resume. I'm 34 years old. I got 2 kids. I work 5 jobs. I know what I want. And then she said this. She said, even if you get a guy who was raised in the community and he hasn't been in jail and he's her age, he's still trying to find himself. Well, what makes you so much better at 34 just because you got 2 kids, a job, and you have dated a man who was in jail for 8 years? He came out and then he was killed, and now you are here and you are Muslim, and that makes you so much better. I'm not understanding, which is why I need context. But if you look at the second video, I think it's very, very interesting what that man says. And this isn't a man who, if you look at him, like if I was to pass this dude on the street, I would pass right by him, not thinking that he's scholarly, but that's me judging the book by its cover, I must say. Nonetheless, I'm glad that I looked at this video, because what he says is something that I am coming to understand more and more every day. And that is, regardless of what you may think, regardless of how much you struggle, regardless of how much you want, regardless of what you believe your religion is, regardless of how you were raised, where your parents came from, what their jobs are, none of that matters when it comes to what you bring into your life based on what you actually, truly, really, down in the core of your being, think and feel about you. The man goes on to explain, he said, this whole world, our existence, is made up of waves. I'm not going to get too technical because I'm not technically inclined. However, Because we are made up of waves, these waves bring things into our lives and they carry things out of our lives based on what we feel, what we desire, what we want strongly, what we see, what we think about all the time, what we have on our minds, those types of things, the things that we covet, the things that we see every day. Yes, exactly. Those types of things. When we are constantly having those things on our minds, we kind of bring them into our lives. Now, anybody who knows anything, and yeah, I love this hat. Anyway. Anybody who knows or who has ever, done any light reading on the law of attraction, you get the understanding that the law of attraction doesn't work by you saying things like, well, I don't want any bad guys. I don't want any lowlifes. That's not how it works. You can't put the I don't wants out there. Hey, vet, you can't put the I don't wants out there. So if you spend your time in a cycle of thinking from that standpoint of, well, I don't want this, I don't want this. I mean, it's good to find out what you don't want, and you definitely need to find out what you don't want so that you don't entertain it. However, if you spend your thinking and your feelings and your emotions in the standpoint of, I don't want this, guess what? Oddly enough, it's going to come right to you. Anybody who has done that type of thing in their life knows exactly what I'm talking about. You cannot think that thinking from that standpoint only brings it to you. Think of it this way. Anything that you keep on your mind is going to show up. Now, some of you might think, well, why hasn't that $1 million shown up? Because you also think of all the obstacles in your way of that. You also think of all the reasons why you shouldn't have $1 million, or all the obstacles that you have to getting $1 million. Like, my job doesn't pay me enough to get $1 million. Or, if I hit the lottery and there's 18 other people, and, we all do that math in our heads and we disqualify ourselves by trying to figure things out, as opposed to going with the flow. But back to these black women and black men. So this man tells this woman this, and she just says to them, so you gonna go to bed now? You want all the hoes, thoughts, and skeezers. Let's go. No, you don't. No, you don't, Stephen McCaster. No, you don't, scumbag, because I've invited you to those parties, and now we're in quarantine, and your ass can't get out the house. And now you want all of that. I've been inviting you to Humble forever. And now this is the first time in 14 years that we have not had humble beginnings. And now you talking about you want the thoughts and skeezers. Man, miss me with that. So, again, back to this. I was saying that it was interesting to me that, it was interesting to me that I would really love to know the perspective and the context of this conversation, because it really occurred to me that if these women know their worth, why are you, for one, thinking from a standpoint that most of the men that you meet are going to have a prison record? Because all black men don't have a prison record. Why are you thinking from the perspective that at 34 years old, you as a black female are going to be the only person who knows what she wants and knows what she wants in life? She went on to say that she had a degree, which I was just curious. She didn't say what school she went to, and she didn't say if she got it online or anything like that. But I was just curious. If you went to a school and sat in a classroom, there had to be, I'm going to just take a stab. There had to be at least one other man, if not in that class, somewhere on campus that you could have found. But she said she had 2 kids. She was 34 years old. Her oldest was 13 years old. So at 20 years old, the time that most of us, if we went directly from high school into college and made it all the way through in 4 years, at 20 years old, we would have been in somewhere our sophomore, late freshman, sophomore, junior-ish year. So that means that by that time, you already had a kid. So how are you in college looking for a man, telling people that the man that you met around your age ain't ready, but you already have a family started? I'm trying to understand this perspective. Carolyn Duval Saint, my wife, I love you. I miss you. Aprilla, good to see you, babe. So I'm trying to understand this perspective that she was talking about. For those of you who are just joining us again, after this video, after this casting, you can go on my page and watch the video. There are 2 videos that I posted. One is a black woman. She's a Muslima who is talking about her experience with black men. A man in the video made a comment about her self-worth. She got up on her soapbox and decided to defend her self-worth. Absolutely worth defending. I just am curious about her points, which is why I would prefer if, that's why I posted it earlier. I was hoping that there would always be, it doesn't always work like that. What doesn't always work like what? I'm going to need you to be more specific, Kit Kat. So I want your opinion, because if it's me, tell me it's me. Maybe my thinking is fucked up. Could be. Stranger things have happened. So she said, what else? Something about trying to find herself after the fathers left the home. And she made a comparison about how, this is what she said. She said that, you know, the black mothers, that when the fathers leave the home, because they prefer the penitentiary to the family, to what the black women are offering. And I'm paraphrasing, so these words aren't verbatim. What's up, Eddie Moo Perkinson, my bad, and Patty King. She said that because black men prefer the penitentiary to what black women are offering, paraphrasing, what happens is a cycle. She then talks about the cycle of then mothers are left to raise sons without fathers. Now, I know a lot of good men. I know a lot of good men who were raised by single mothers. I know a lot of good men who, and I'm not saying that that's how it should be. I'm just saying that's not an impossibility. Just because you are a single mother who is raising a son does not mean that your son is going to end up in the penitentiary. No more than it means that he was going to stay out of the penitentiary if the father was there. Most offer a shitty attitude. Another's nigga's outraised. Yeah. And that was the point that I was trying to, that was the point that I inferred, or that I gathered from the facts when she said that she was 34 years old. She had a 13-year-old. She had a 4-year college degree. She didn't say in what. She didn't say what school or anything like that. But she said that she was 34. Her oldest was 13 years old, which means that you had your oldest by 21. So you were pregnant at 20. So if you went straight from high school to college and continued all the way through, you were pregnant in college. So if any dude that you met at the time, yeah, he might have been young. Yeah, he might have been sowing his wild oats. But that's what you're supposed to do in college. You are the one who came to the table with a kid. You were the one who came to the table with a ready-made family. It was not the dude sitting in the class, in the calculus class. He may have had one. But we're talking about you, you meaning her, since you brought up her resume. Yeah, Angie, that's exactly what she said. I need you to watch the video, and I need you to go and I need you to comment, because I need to be told, yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Aprella. Because I need to be told if what I got from this video was wrong. So there are two videos too. For those of you who are still watching, there are two videos. There's another video that I posted with a guy. And again, these videos don't answer each other directly. But one is a woman's view, a black woman's view on black women, on black men. And her view is that they choose the penitentiary, or when she says the penitentiary, what I'm taking her to mean is the street life. Anything that'll land you in the penitentiary versus going to college and getting a job, yada, 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 yada. And in the second video, there is a black man who answers another black woman, not this same black woman. And his answer is everything. They're on my page, Cynthia McLean. His answer to that is you can't blame anybody for what comes into your life, because everything that comes is based on what you think. Everything that comes is based on what you feel, what you emit, what you have on your mind, what you allow to cloud your mental space, what you allow to occupy your time, what you. It's not anybody else. It's a, Patty, I don't know who this video is, but it's a video that somebody sent me, and it just sparked this conversation. So I was just curious, because, you know, at the same time that black women get the rap of being angry, aggressive, They get the rap of like the scumbag, my man Steve said, you know, always having kids before you meet the right man, yada, yada, yada. There's always a chip on your shoulder. If you are a woman of a certain age, sometimes you may act inappropriately. You're often loud, you know, all of the stereotypes. And black men we have our stereotypes. If I hear one more time from a black woman, there are no black men. There are no good black men, because that was her point. That was the woman in the first video's point. There are no good black men available. They're, you know, that same adage, which, it deeply disturbs me. They're either in jail, married, or gay. I do fit in one of those categories, and I am not in jail or married, so. But that does not mean that just like I grew up in the Essex County in Newark, New Jersey. I did have a job until I retired, just like my man Steve, and we're here. We're not unicorns. No, we do not kowtow to what we don't think that every black woman, just because we find a black woman who might know how to cook, might know how to clean, might have a job, may not have kids, that should not be the end of your resume as to what makes you a good mate for somebody. That shit don't even make you a good person. It may make you a productive member of society, but that does not mean that, you know, that does not mean that other people should give you their time and their attention. Oh, it's not a new video. Yeah, it probably no, you could tell it's grainy as fuck, but I just thought that the sentiment was the fact, and I think that's an interesting point too. The fact that it's not a new video, that means that we keep repeating this same stuff to each other over and over and over, and we keep feeding each other the same information as opposed to trying to change the information. Nobody's interested in changing this narrative. We feed into it and we we grab it, we put our 2 cents with it, repackage it, and throw it right back out there. Somebody walk up to you and say, yeah, there's no good men. Girl, I know. All black men ain't this. Oh, you ain't got to tell me. It's a jungle, and I love the dating game. It's a jungle, and I'm Tarzan. Now, you might actually be a unicorn, Steve. You have no children. You're a professional dude. And you're my age, and that's really not heard of. Not today. It's very rare. And I would be curious as to, now you said something, and if y'all knew Steve, like I knew Steve, if y'all watch Scumbag Chronicles, y'all would understand all of this pause right here. Y'all would understand this whole pausing situation. But in your experience dating black women, what is the most prevalent, consistent thing that you see across the board that you find distasteful? And if there's any other black men in there who are in the dating scene right now who would like to answer this question, I'm curious to know. What is the one consistent thing? And black women too. I would love for you to answer this question, since we get equal opportunity employers. Let's get it. What is it that you see consistently across the board in black men in your dating experience that you could really do without, that you find distasteful, that you could really just be like, all of y'all do that, like for real? That type of thing. Black men, black women, I would really like to know. So while some of us give dating advice to other women according to the toxic relationship they're currently in, yeah. And you know what? I love this show. Excuse me. I was watching a movie earlier called Religulous. If you haven't seen this with Bill Maher, treat yourself. It's yeah. It's funny. But in that same vein of what you're talking about, Angie, we can't take something that happened here and make it apply to everything. And what made me think of that is watching Religulous earlier, because that was one of the points that he was making in the show is You can't take something that happened 3,000 to 5,000 years ago and say, yeah, this is relevant now because of what? They have children and their disdain for their children's fathers. Black women, I would love to hear some information. We are a broken community trying to maintain healthy relationships. Yes, very true. Now, the one thing that I'm not gonna, because it's not a disagreement. I completely agree with what you're saying, but I would just change one word, broken, because we as a community are broken. That we do need mending, but as individuals, that was what I was really getting at. What's up, sweet daddy? Call me tomorrow for a rebuttal because I can't type everything I want to say. Well, type a little bit. We'll start and then we'll finish that conversation tomorrow, Kit Kat. All right? Not bringing something to the table is what I think you're saying, but needs. Ooh. Because that's a big thing. And there are a whole bunch of memes about that now. Well, not now, like it's a relevant thing, but I've seen many of them, circulating. It's always, I need something. That bottle of Henny, that $40, because I ain't playing with you tonight. I've been single for so long that I don't even know where or how to start. I had 2 girls, so I was leery about having men around my girls, to be honest. Yeah, that is a perfectly understandable fear. Because as much as we would like to trust, we aren't at that point, which is one of the reasons. And, if Lucky Benson sees this show, he's going to be like, yeah, fuck that nigga. Because I've been trying to tell him, I'm trying to come up with, because obviously I'm not doing, like I said, I'm not doing the house stuff too much anymore, unless there's somebody who I really want to interview and sit down and talk with. But I'm really much more interested in having these conversations because we need to learn how to talk to each other. We need to learn how to have different, more honest conversations in terms of stuff like this. If there's something that's distasteful, we should be able to say it and not be offended. Is my friend in here? Is that? Because there's a friend of mine, and this was something that I was going to do a show about. I don't need or want to marry a woman's kids if we're dating. Wow. Now, that's interesting. That's interesting. Coming from a kid who grew up like I said, my mom was a single mom. I know my father, yada yada yada, but I was raised in a single parent household. However, my mom did date, and it was only after a certain time that we even got to meet whoever she was dating. And I'm curious as to what the conversations had to be beforehand. You know what I'm saying? Back when I was a kid and my mom would have to have that conversation. I'm sure it's different today. I think women are like, yeah, I got kids and it's a whole lot easier. Back then it was probably a whole different situation. Yeah, I got you, man. You good. It was probably a whole different situation of having to talk to a man about, the fact that you have kids, particularly if you weren't married. But my mother was divorced. So it wasn't like either way, it's a different conversation. I'm sick and tired of men gaslighting into thinking it's all in our heads, like they are perfect angels. And one day we woke up and decided to go crazy. Yeah, man, we have to, that has to stop. We have to. Now, here's the other thing. There was just something else that I forget what I was watching. And whatever it was a character on whatever I was watching. It was the second video. The second video, oh man, that was the part that I forgot to tell y'all. This was the part. Thank you, Kate. This was the part that I forgot. The dude went on to say, this was his reasoning, and I'm hesitant. I'm a little hesitant to even repeat this because I was like, but his reasoning, I can't even, and I think the men are going to be on board with this, and even some of the women. Now, I've heard women say, and even seen memes about, y'all joke about the fact that you guys are much more emotional than we are when it comes to everything. So he said, let me tell you something. He said, that's why there will never be a woman president. He said, and now he was really, I think he was kind of put a little bit of levity into it when he was explaining it. But what he said was, could you imagine? He said, because women's minds change with their feelings. Anybody whose feelings who changes what they do based on how they are feeling can't be a good leader is basically what he was saying. Those are my words, not his. But he gave an example. Watch the video. You're going to love the example. I'm not even going to repeat that. You go watch it one for yourself. But basically that's what he was saying. He was like, you can't be an effective leader if your decisions are changed based on how you feel. And that's a valid point. You cannot, nobody, but that's a man or a woman. But for the most part, until this current presidency, I would say, most of the leaders that I've seen, at least in my lifetime, haven't often made decisions based solely on their emotions. And I think that was what pissed me off. The video with the guy pissed you all the way off. Of course it did. You know why he did? Because you're a woman. That's why it pissed you off. Now, if you would like to tell me why, I am dying to hear it. If it's the conversation for tomorrow, just put a checkbox in the comments and I will call you tomorrow and we will have that conversation. But if it's something that you could give us a synopsis, I would love for you to chime in to add to the conversation. Sweet Daddy Holloway says, my mom had me at 16 in 1959. Father left her at the altar. He died when I was 2 years old. With that being said, my mother taught me how to show up for a woman. Off subject, came in late. Nope, because you're a black man and we're talking about how black men treat black women. And well, we're talking about relationships with black men and black women and how they view them. And I'm glad that you said that because that's a very important thing. Regardless of whether there is a single parent, man or woman, and whether you have children of the same sex or the opposite sex, there's one thing that a lot of us, there's a level of thinking that a lot of us haven't gotten to yet. And even in regards to what's happening in the world today, I see a lot of us haven't gotten to this level of thinking. It's very disturbing to me. It's a little frightening. We don't spin that camera back. You know how your camera can flip focus and change it back at you? How about you change the focus from you for once and flip it back out to somebody else and see it from their perspective just a little bit. Because if you are a parent and you have a child of the opposite sex, by the time you are a parent, you obviously, if you are a biological parent, you have some sort of experience with the opposite sex. You kind of know a few things about what you like, what you don't like. You kind of know how you like to be treated, how you don't want to be treated. And even if your child is of the same sex, it's the same situation. You know, right? And I know people, Antoine, you're not a parent. You can't say this. Okay, but I am a person who was raised by a parent. I do have those people in my life. I got two, and there's two things you learn from anybody: parent, chick, child, whomever. What to do and what not to do. If you are having trouble learning what to do and what not to do from somebody, parenting is the last fucking thing you should be doing. I'm sorry. Aprella says, some men make decisions based off of emotion as well. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And we will concede to that. Me being one of them at points. But I will say that oftentimes men who, I'm gonna throw out some buzzwords for you. Alpha males. Alpha males who are in positions of power oftentimes are less likely to make decisions based off of emotion. Many times, if you are somebody who a community of people recognizes as an alpha, by that time, oftentimes, these are not blanket statements, oftentimes you have grown, if you're a good leader, to the point where you can see past your emotion to the point to see to critical thinking and how this is going to affect the masses. So, and there are a whole bunch of women in power who now, alpha females, who are now getting rid of that stereotype, thank God. But as black women, who many of whom, not all, just because you are a mother and you might be the head of your household does not make you an alpha female, but many of whom are alpha females, find themselves in the same position. And like the woman was saying in the first video, she said the men don't want to be strong. That's what she said. That's not me agreeing. That's what she said. She said the men don't want to be strong. They want us to. But if you have a society where, and I can't, y'all help me out with this thinking. Wa alaikum salam, Nunu. Some women are jilted. I'm gonna get back to this point in a quick second. I'm gonna get to your point, and I see your comment, Stephen. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. When you have women and men, in these situations, and you're not talking with integrity, you're not dealing with each other with integrity, you're gonna have these collapses. You're gonna have these types of situations. I lost my train of thought, so I'm gonna go to this comment, and it'll probably come back to me. Some women are jilted from poor decisions in men and has transgressed that bitterness onto other men. Now, it's interesting that you said that statement, because I heard somebody say a comment, and this was another thing that made me want to tackle this topic and talk. I forget who it was. Again, I listen to a lot of media. I read a lot, and I just do it right after the other, so it all runs together. But somebody, whoever this was, I think it was a comedian who was making a joke, or maybe it was somebody I know. I really don't recall. But they were making the comment that if a man finds a woman and the woman is, let me not make a scenario. Basically, they said if a man is a bum, he'll find a woman who'll take him in, and the woman will take him in and think that she gonna do something with him. Whereas the opposite is true with men. A man will find a woman who may not be doing good. He's not gonna make that his woman. He might have sex with her. He might talk to her. They could be friends, but he's not gonna make this woman his woman if she is not leveled up. If she is not where he is. If she does not bring to the, oftentimes, and this is many, many times the case, more often than not, let me say, I see it happen more so where a woman will take care of a man because of the circumstances. I'm not saying like a man who wants, that this is the agreement, the woman is going to be home raising kids, yada, yada, be a housewife, da, 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 da. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is a woman who just, for whatever her circumstances are, she just can't make this happen. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take care of you, baby. That happens less often. Or y'all tell me, and I'm gonna go to these comments, how we should be treating and uplifting each other. But, yeah, that's kind of the whole, hey Pre, hey Rick. Some legal age men don't know how to be grown. And that was her, now again, you have to watch the videos. That was this young woman's comment. She said at her age, she was like, I got my mind on right. I know what I want, da, 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 da. But men my same age, they don't. But her circumstances were so different. And again, once you do the math on the fact that she was 34 years old, she had a 13-year-old kid, who was her oldest kid. She had a 4-year degree, which means she went to college, but she didn't say if she enrolled and went to class every day or if she got it online. So that makes a difference in where you're meeting men, because the man that she made her man, she said she met him. They were together for 2 years. He was killed. She met him. He was out on the corner closing a fire hydrant. But then he went away to jail sometime after that. So he was in the street life, I guess she was intimating. And if you came from a college atmosphere, the place that you want to go meet a mate is on the, and now she said he was a good man. I'm not saying that he's not a good man, but you cannot complain about what you got. You can't complain about the food at Burger King if you keep going to Burger King. You can't complain that the Chinese store only sells rats and cats if you only go to the Chinese store. You got to change your playgrounds and stuff. You got to change the way you think. But again, in the other video, what the guy says is completely different from what I'm saying now. He says it's not even about changing where you go. It's not your playground. It is basically just what you think. You attract what you think of you. And that, I think, is a very interesting concept, because if you look at your life and see all the things in your life and the people in your life, and you know that you, for in some shape, form, or fashion. Now, if you want to look up frequencies and waves and everything like that, you can go ahead and do it on your own time. If you actually want a person who's great at explaining it, there's a guy on Facebook. His name is Morgue, M-O-R-G-U-E. He looks, when you look at him, you might be a little taken back. Oh, but yeah, he looks kind of gothic. He's like really pale, and he has bleached white long hair, and sometimes he wears like a black stripe across his eye. But he's great at explaining trigonometry and physics and waves and things like that, and how they relate to us and how we use them every day and don't really understand it, like your thought waves and radio waves and things like that. Things that are here every day that we can't see that are actually at work for us. So if you want to get into all of that, look up Morg, and he can explain that to you. But insofar as this conversation is, if you understand that all of those waves, you send out these waves that bring these things back to you, and all these waves are just responding to your thoughts and your feelings and how you feel about you and what you think about you and all of this, what you think about the world and how your relationship to the world. When you look at your relationship to the world and the relationships around you and your relationships and everything around you, and realize that you brought all of that into your own circumstance by your thoughts, feelings, and actions. The one thing that you really, really, really need to understand is that if you don't like it, you can change it. You can change how you think. You can change how you feel. You can definitely change how you act. The first thing you can change is how you act. Hey, assalamu alaikum, Marie. Thank you for joining us. Aprella says, some women are jilted, but it's important to treat everyone as an individual. That's absolutely right. Peace, Pretoria. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. More often than not, correct. Yes, women are nurturers. Yes, women are nurturers. So, and thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk about roles, because we often like to put people in categories and things like that, and we're not going to get too heavy into that. But if women are nurturers, that's a role. Is that who you... I'm not even going to ask, is that who you want on the front line, or is that who you want in a position of power? Because those things come with danger. So that is not who we want in danger either, from another perspective. So it may not be that we don't want women in, positions of power because they won't do a good job. Is it acceptable? They're not mutually exclusive. Not the same, but not mutually exclusive. The fact that maybe we just don't want you in those positions because it makes you vulnerable. Absolutely. You have to take accountability of your choices you make. Absolutely right, Yvette. Change your people, places, and things, and your mindset. Mindset. Now, your people, places, and things is the easy part. Your mindset is the part that's going to take the hardest part. That's going to take the hardest work. Because your mindset is something, unless you actively change it. A lot of us aren't in the process of actively changing it. What we are in the process of doing every day is confirming what we already know and think and do. There are very few of us, there are some of us who go, yeah, I'm going to read a book a day or a month or a week or something like that. And that's interesting. It's nice too. But if you're not jumping outside of your comfort zone, if you aren't I don't understand why many of us are afraid to make drastic changes subtly. People go, yeah, I'll do it slowly but surely. Slowly but surely, why? What are you waiting for? Do it now. The conversations that we need to take place now, because the change that needs to take place then begins now. So we can't really wait till that. Yes, Nunu, his name is Morg, and he is my new dude. Emotional availability comes from structure. Structure has to be consistent. Seek what is smart for longevity. My man, spiritual awareness is paramount. No, don't digress. You are exactly right. Emotional availability does come from structure. We have to begin to create structure, but like you said, structure has to be consistent. That's the only way to create anything formidable. You have to be consistent with it. So again, what I'm trying to do is begin to have these conversations, because again, I don't have... My relationships with Black women are different than many of the people who are watching my show. Your relationships, you have wives and girlfriends and women that you date. There's a different conversation that needs to take place. I can walk up to all of the Black women and women of color that I know and have these conversations real easily. Why are you acting like that? I don't have a problem saying that. I have no problem saying that. Anybody who knows me knows I don't have a problem saying that. Anything that bothers me, anything that, if better at, like Shrek said, better out than in. I don't feel like I need to keep it in. If we're friends, I should be able to say it to you as long as I'm not saying it to you to try to hurt you. If I'm saying it to you so that we can come to an understanding or to make you more aware, let's have these conversations. Because a lot of the stuff that we hold on to, and you're going to hear this in almost every video you ever see me in, a lot of the stuff that we subscribe to is really very arbitrary. So you can let it go. Some of it's worth holding on to, but you have to do the examination. It's worth looking into. It's worth examining. Gender roles have been gender roles have been skewed. I want you to elaborate. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm a natural born nurturer. Okay. So as a natural born nurturer, do you think that would make you a good president or head of state? Like, at what level does that make, and this is just in terms of this conversation. I'm not saying that it has to make you that type of person. I'm just asking, does it? Do you think it does? That's a better question. Do you think it would make you a good president, prime minister, head of state, something like that? Because this man's comment was women are too emotional, which is why we won't have a women president. You can't he says something about, like, you can't have a woman behind the button to start a fight with Kim Jong-un. His comment was something like that. Watch the video. You'll find out. Maybe losing my mother as a child is the reason why I'm so nurturing. That could be it. That could be it. Steve says, I'm a natural born hunter. I bring home the kid. Jaguars for life. Let's see. It's the unknown. What's the unknown? Tell me what the unknown is. Hey, Kenneth. Consistent. These conversations need to be had. Yes, they do. Slippery slope. What's the slippery slope? Sometimes hurt needs to be exposed to heal. Yeah. Remember when you were little and you fell down and you skinned your knee, and the first thing you wanted was a nice Band-Aid to put on it because Band-Aids would seem cool for some reason. And your mother, if she didn't have Band-Aids, no, you got to let the air hit it. Yeah. There's a saying I've heard for many, almost 20 years now, and I didn't hear it until, I got around a certain group of people. And that saying is, secrets die in the light of exposure. Now, again, this is another thing that you'll probably hear me reference throughout a few videos from time to time. Yeah, Steve is scary, Aprella. Yeah, he terrifies me. But there, a video on Netflix, if you haven't seen this video, and it's not because I'm heavy into conspiracy theories or anything like that. Although I have a few, but it's not because of that. But there's a series, a limited series on Netflix called The Family. And if ever there was something that could accurately document something Illuminati-esque, it would be this series, because this is the closest thing I've seen to actual, a person who was in it and got out and wrote a book, that type of situation. And this guy in this series, I'll never forget this sentence, this concept rather. They say, our strength is our secrecy. Secrecy is the strength of the organization called The Family, which is an actual organization that is, you'll have to watch it on Netflix. But secrets die in the light of exposure is what I say all that to say. And when we have these conversations, honestly, because, and I'm getting ready to get out of here because I'm a little tired, but there's just something that I need to throw in here. And I think I talked about it briefly before in another episode, but when I say we need to have these conversations, we need to have them with integrity. We need to have them with honesty. Yeah, thank you, Steve. Comfort zones are for losers. You're absolutely right. In that when you stay in your comfort zone, you don't grow and you don't change. Thank you. When you stay in your comfort zone, you don't grow and you don't change. And sometimes your comfort zone is not where you need to be. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. Change is uncomfortable. Change is new. It is uncomfortable. It's not something that you can grasp immediately. It is not something that you are sure-footed about. Change is that. It is the most unsure-footed thing, but it is also the only thing that you can be certain is going to happen in your entire life. Change. That being said, as we have these conversations and we look at each other and we're having these conversations and we're trying to muster the integrity to talk about things, remember, because this is something that happens. It's happened to a friend of mine. It's happening. I have some. Most of you know me from either like work, school, or the club or something, but there are people that I know outside of all those places, and these are the most interesting people in the world. How many of these people are? That's who many of my shows come from, because for one, there are several of them who don't have social media, or some don't have internet access, and things like that. So I know that unless somebody sits them down and puts on the episode, they're never gonna know. But I also try to protect their privacy. I try not to mention names, but there's a friend of mine who's going through something right now, and he came over and we were watching movies, and his girlfriend called, and I could hear her through the phone. Like, it was like, and I'm like, nigga, you just walked in the house. What did you do before you left the house? And he was like, yeah, we had an argument about, and he said something that was stupid. Let's say a sock on the floor, a dish in the sink. Something completely that you don't argue about. Unless it happens a million times. We all argue about those things every day. And that is the problem. We argue about those things every day like they are the problem. They're not the problem. Let's talk about what the real problem is. Because when and you don't think that you're keeping a secret, but that's what you're actually doing. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you're constantly badgering them about this little tiny things, but you're not explaining to them where it's coming from. If you don't give them the context of where that is coming from, then you are being dishonest in your relationship. And that is why you have trouble communicating in that relationship. I can't change what's bothering you if I don't know what is bothering you. If you tell me you keep leaving the towels on the floor in the bathroom, all right, I picked the towels on the floor. Now you tell me it's about the dishes in the sink. Okay. When what you really need to say is, I don't think you have enough consideration for the fact that I'm constantly cleaning around here. As opposed to saying, whatever it is, you fill in your own freaking metaphors, but and if you don't, you start the examination with you then. If you don't know why it is you're going off for no reason over something that has nothing to do with the rest of the stuff that's going on, if your relationship is a whole bunch of nitpicking and back and forth about stuff that nobody else is arguing about, and you realize that this is freaking crazy, it's because somebody here is not being honest about what is actually going on with them. And don't we owe each other that? If you deserve to have that type of interaction with somebody, then you deserve to give it to somebody. Don't think that it should be one side. Well, I deserve to have somebody who did that. Well, you deserve to get that same thing too. You deserve to do that. Don't think, well, you have to do it. Change the way that you think about it. You deserve to do that. You deserve to be in a relationship with reciprocity, which means that when this person buys you flowers, you take them to dinner. When this person opens your door, you go ahead and fluff their pillow or give them a massage or touch their feet or rub their back or whatever it is that they want to do. It is called give and take. It is called, I know that you have done this for me and I appreciate it, and this is how I'm going to show my appreciation. I understand that this bothers you, but I'm going to, look, no, better yet, this is what's bothering me. The actual thing. It is not your dirty drawers in the hamper. It is not the sink full of dishes. It is, you do not value me enough. The fact that I go out here to work, I come home and I take care of the kids, I clean the house. You do not value me enough. You come in from work. Yeah, you work too, but no, you don't help with the kids. You come in and you sit on the couch. You get honest. A learning curve is set for everyone. You, me, him, she cannot measure that. You're absolutely right. There is a learning curve, but you can't learn unless there's a conversation. You can't learn unless there's a teacher. I can only tell you but so many times to get your shoes out of the way. Now I kick them out the way or put them in the garbage. Yeah, I've done that myself. I can't even lie. You're not ready for that. If you are with somebody who is not ready for your truth, then you're not ready for that relationship. Is that what you really want? Gotta go both ways. Absolutely. What movie was that from? I can't remember. Which? Oh, that was something else. Okay, reciprocity. Yeah. When a student is ready, the teacher shall appear. Exactly. Exactly. If we want to learn, you got to be open. If you want the teacher to appear, if you're really ready, the teacher will appear. But you got to be open. It ain't going. You already know. I don't need any more metaphors. Maybe that's what I need to call this. No more metaphors. Because that's what we have to get away from. We need to talk honestly, talk plainly. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't take it personal when somebody comes to you to tell you something. But we'll make sure when you come into somebody to tell you you're not doing it to be messy. See, that's how communication works. You have to come with and you have to receive with. If I come to you with integrity and good intention, I can get a better expectation of the fact that it will be received. That same way that I gave it. I can't come to you with bullshit and expect roses. And a lot of us do that. We give half measures. A lot of us got half, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We don't know if we want to be there. And then we stuck in a situation where the person who we with don't really know what they think about themselves. So we got all this extra added attraction and bullshit and drama going on around us. So it just creates this circus that we become comfortable with. It is opposed to changing our people, because if they're not comfortable with their thinking and they keep attracting all this bullshit to our lives, then maybe they need to go and evaluate themselves so that, because if I love you enough to let you the fuck go. Let's be clear. If I do say I love you, if I really mean that I love you, I want you to be happy with or without me. So I'm good on that. But let's be good on that. Let's, as a community, as a people, as a whole situation, let's be good on that. I was watching, and any of you who don't, some of these videos, I repost them. I don't see people. Just leave a comment or something so I'll know you watched it. That way I'll know that this is stuff that y'all like to watch or y'all like to see. Because, I'm here for people. 2 + 2 = 5. When I see you in the street, Marie, it's going to be me and you. Out of here. Circumstances will make you ready. Do you resist at that point? Yeah, right, exactly. The circumstances will make you ready. And when you and I open, you will not be taught. No teacher will appear. The teacher could be standing right in front of you. For real. Realer. Yeah, realer speaks. I like that. I like that. Yeah, it's bananas. It's bananas. We have to be able to have more conversations with integrity. Don't be offended. Like, okay, this is the story I'm telling, then I'm gonna get out of here for referral. This is the one I was trying to tell about my friend Yvonne, and I hope she's in there watching somewhere. I love her. So there was a post that I put up. Now, Yvonne is an English teacher. I have several friends who are teachers, and sometimes spell check, quick thumbs, and sometimes I just don't know. I'm doing it too fast, or I'm riding somewhere. I'm out in the street walking, and I'm not even thinking about it. I put the wrong tense in a post on Facebook, and she was the first person to respond, and her only response was to type the correct tense of what I should have typed in there, which gave me an opportunity before everybody else saw it. Well, too many other people, because I'm sure other people might have saw it, but it gave me an opportunity to go ahead and change it. So my thing has always been this, and some of my friends hate when I do this, because if I hear you say a word incorrectly, I'll correct you. And I don't do it because I'm arrogant or I think I'm better than you or anything like that. I do it because if I say that I'm your friend, and I only do this to my friends, please know that. If you say a word and it's incorrect and you're not my friend, that's on you. If you are my friend, I'm going to pull you aside and I'm going to tell you the real way, the actual pronunciation of the word. Or if you use it incorrectly in a sentence, I'm going to tell you that you use that correctly in the sentence. I don't think that's what you mean. The reason I do that is because I would much rather I do it than you be in front of a bunch of people who may be in a position to make important decisions about your life, and you use a fucking word incorrectly and they change their minds. Even if the stakes aren't that high, it could be just a bunch of people that you having cocktails with and you in there telling your funniest stories, but there's a word that you keep using incorrectly in a sentence. If I am your friend, I am going to tell you about it. And if you are my friend, you are not going to take it personally. My friends don't take it personally when I tell them stuff. One, because I come to them with respect and love. I don't come to them with ill intentions. I don't come to them trying to shine on them. That's not what this is about. This is about us getting better together. Like right now, there's a word my man hit me up the other day. We had a falling out and we haven't spoken to each other in months. And in this time, and if he sees this video, he knows exactly who he is. You know, you my dude. Hit me up the other day just to see how I was doing with all of the stuff that's going on in the world right now. I haven't spoken to him in months. And one of the things that he used to always talk about was community entrenchment. And so if you've been a person who's been watching my videos for a long time, like for the past few years, like since I started with GS Radio, you'll know who I'm talking about, and you'll know what community entrenchment is and the concepts that we've spoken about on this show. And right now is the time for that. And the fact that he hit me up the other day was just like this confirmation, like, yeah. Because now is not the time for bullshit. Now is the time for consideration of everybody. And I'm really getting out of here. There's one more thing I'm going to say just in this time. Hey, Lisa, it too shall pass judgment, because it is to pass judgment because someone is not at your speed. If you miss out, oh well, there's that learning process. Learning ain't easy. Pay attention to the red light indicators. We call them idiot lights in a car. Your life is your car. I know that's right. Miss those vocabulary books from high school. Can't pass up a teaching moment. That's right. Great show. Thank you. Last thing for, what was it I was getting ready to talk about? It was something real. Oh, last thing. And I'm actually going to get out of here. I was, during this time, like I'm not a very social person, but when I feel the need to be social, I am. So, there's one friend of mine who comes down during this time to visit me. And the only reason I let him come is because I know he has as much to lose, passing something to me as he does taking it home, because his girlfriend is pregnant. So, she has already warned him, like, you keep going outside, wash your so when you get back in, that type of thing. And when he come in, I'm like, yeah, go wash your hands and face and stuff, So we already had that thing going, but there was something that I completely forgot. And it was the other reason why I don't, and I'm glad that I just, didn't be invite, because I'm not, one of those, I'm not, that ilk of going to the beach or the club or something during this time. I really don't need to do all that. But I forgot that when I had surgery, all the metal in my body is an attractant for viruses. And my doctor told me this way before any of this ever happened. This is years ago when I first had my back surgery. He said, he made sure beforehand, he said, listen, before you have surgery, is there any dental work that you need to be? Now, I think from the last video, I explained what was going on with the dental stuff. If not, I'll probably do a special short thing on YouTube for that. But at any rate, just to get finished with this, so I can let y'all go to bed. My doctor said, if you plan to have any dental work, you have to have it now, because you won't be able to have dental work for 6 months after surgery. Now, remember, I had 5 back surgeries. So there was a total of 2.5 years where I couldn't have any dental work done. And there were some other things going on, which I'm just now piecing together in my head. But he said, because if there's an infection, if there's any bacterial or viral infection, it's attracted to the metal in your body. And it'll go to the metal and it'll cause an infection. And I completely forgot about that until I was watching a video the other day, and they were talking about, surfaces and things that the virus stays on, and they were talking about metal. So if anybody has metal in their body, so it's not just people who have, who are immunosuppressed. It is not just people who have like diabetes or other things that have attacked their immune system. For people who have simple things like a knee replacement or a spinal fusion, or some metal in your skull from something, you have to be careful. You have to be careful. I'm not saying that to scare anybody. I'm just saying don't be stupid is all I'm saying. Interesting conversation. Thank you so very much, Aprella. It is the past judgment because someone is not at you. Oh, I think we did that. Yeah, so be careful. But again, I thank all you guys for watching. I appreciate. Please share the video. Again, if you were watching the first video earlier, that was why I came on so late to do it, because earlier I think everybody had the same idea to go on at 8 o'clock as soon as there was the international curfew or whatever. So Facebook knocked me off, and I was like, oh shit. And then I couldn't get back on. I tried from 2 accounts, and I knew the Wi-Fi was working and everything. And I'm like, I even shut the Wi-Fi off and used it was a situation. It was a whole situation. But I'm glad that you guys were here. I appreciate that you made it through it. And I want you all to have a good night. So as you continue to walk this road, remember, should you happen to stumble along the way, the harder you fall, the higher you bounce. Remember that when you're tripping. I'm DVS. This is ImRealDvs. And we're going to get out of here. Y'all be safe. Be smart. Do not be too fearful. Healthy fear is always acceptable. But don't be overboard. Stay your ass home. Keep your food as stocked as you can, and love your family and call your